there, Dawn McGee here from Royal LePage Atlantic. It's that time of year and the sun is shining and the grass is starting to get green and people are starting to think about cottage life. Is this going to be the year that you get to invest in a lakefront property? Well, I have a few things I want to tell you before you go ahead and buy. First of all, you can get a mortgage on a cottage property. There's a couple different ways that a lender will look at a property in the cottage area. First of all, they can offer you 5% down if the property is winterized, if the property is has year-round access and is on its own foundation. So in that sense, it's considered just like a residential mortgage. Then there's the type B cottage, where it may not be on a solid foundation, might be on piers or something like that. It won't have winterization and year-round access. So in that case, the bank would require a 20 to 35% down payment. So that can be a stumbling block for a lot of folks looking to get that cottage property. Banks will also consider refinancing your principal residence. So if you have your home in town pretty much paid off, they will consider you taking out another mortgage on that property. But they'll only consider lending up to 80% of the equity you have built up into that rural property. What do you want to use the lake for? Are you looking for something that you can use your motorboats on, do some water skiing on? If that's the case, you want to keep in mind you want a larger lake, a lake that doesn't necessarily have a lot of rocks on it. Are you looking for peace and serenity? Maybe a lake that doesn't allow motorboats. Maybe you want something that's south-facing, west-facing, that sort of thing. Or even a lake that has good swimming, not a lot of leeches, maybe a sandy shoreline. It really helps to have an agent who knows the lakes in the area so that they can find the cottage on the lake that you prefer. Also, how rustic are you willing to go? Are you looking for something that you have the year-round amenities, a toilet, shower, laundry facilities? That can make a big difference on what lake, what area you can be looking at. Or are you willing to go a bit more rustic and have an outhouse or a compostable toilet? Maybe not necessarily an insulated structure. That's something to consider and really can open up a lot more inventory if you're a bit more flexible on how rustic you're willing to go. Another thing to keep in mind is how far are you willing to travel for your getaway? Do you still want to have the option to pop into town or pop home if something arises, an emergency back at home? Or do you want something where you are secluded and there's no option of coming out of the woods for the whole weekend? Some of the lakefronts are a good 20 minutes down just the woods road to get to the property. And then even when you come out that far, you still only have basic amenities at your local store. So how rustic and how far you want to get away takes a lot of decision making when coming and choosing the cottage that's right for you. Your buying costs may be somewhat higher when looking at a cottage. When you're doing your house inspection or maybe having contractors to come out to have a look at the property you're looking at buying, sometimes they might tack on some mileage when coming to do these inspections. The mortgage rates might be slightly higher, but your insurance rates are probably definitely going to be higher for buying a cottage property. So those are some things to keep in mind. Also, you want to consider road fees. 9 times out of 10 you're going to have road fees associated to a cottage that you buy. And this is usually paid to a homeowners association. Sometimes they can be tacked onto your municipal taxes, but expect to be paying anywhere from $250 to $350 for road fees annually. And ask, also you want to find out what's included in those road fees. Does that include maintenance like reconstruction? Does it include plowing in the winter. It's good to know these things up front, or be able to expect additional costs throughout the year for maintenance. So another thing you want to budget for are improvements that you might need to make for the cottage. A lot of the older cottages only have like holding tanks for septics. So you want to make sure before you buy that your septic isn't going to need upgrading in the near future, because you're going to have to budget for a new septic system. Now with some of these cottage lots, the lots are quite small. So if the small lot doesn't accommodate a regular average price system, you're going to have to look at a more expensive septic system to accommodate the smaller lot. So you want to know going into buying what you might be looking at down the road to improve things like a septic system. So in the end, you can never go wrong with buying a lakefront or waterfront property when you're talking real estate. Waterfront always holds the value in resale, but again, it depends on location, and lastly, the quality of the lake. The bigger the lake, usually the more expensive the cottage. So depending on what you are looking for in a lake, that can really determine what you're going to get back on resale. So talk to you later.